Yo, what's going on, crew? If you've ever wondered what kind of conversations go on when I coach my T1D clients on blood sugar management, today's episode is the right one for you to be here for. Today, I'm going to walk into one of the questions that my clients asked me on a coaching call, how I approached it, and how you can use this one simple strategy to make your blood sugars do what you want. Let's get into our theme song. I've spent the last 10 years pushing the limits while identifying trends and patterns in my type 1 diabetes management. Follow along as I learn, apply, and share the fitness, nutrition, and lifestyle strategies that I've learned from diabetes experts around the world. The real question is, how can we live fearlessly with diabetes while maintaining stable blood sugars? This podcast is here to give you the answer. My name is Matt Vandervecht, head coach and co-founder of FTF Warrior, and welcome to Pardon My Pancreas. Not too long ago, I had a client on a coaching call that she showed up, had her question ready, and it was, I've had some roller coaster blood sugars over the last couple of days, almost an entire week. What am I doing wrong? I asked her a couple of questions. All right, have you been pre-bolusing? Have you been counting carbs? Have you been exercising more or less, or sleep or hydration? And, right, we go through this checklist of like, what could be the factor that's missing here? And there are a few yeses, a few nos, and we kind of whittled our way into what can we do to find a solution in this issue, right? And that's kind of the general format is here's the question, and I offer a few other counter questions to try to figure out what is the true source of our struggle. And then, of course, we use a solution-based form there to figure out what's going on and how we can fix it for the future. So in this unique situation, she had experienced both highs and lows. And we'll give her a name. Let's call her Jill. So Jill, let's say, not her real name, but let's just say Jill was having a hard time. Some days she'd go super high, some days she'd go super low, outside of her norm. And she's just like, man, what is going on? She showed up and she's like, Matt, last week was rough. As you know, weeks prior, months prior, I've been seeing 80% time in range, 90% time in range, 98% time in range, but I don't know what happened this last week. And over the course of, the few questions that I had for her, decided there were a few things that she could improve on, but even still it was like, is that really the issue here? Do we have a new pattern, or do we need to change some strategies around? Now, first thing I want you to consider within this realm of diabetes management is that patterns can be key. They should be your best friend. Because if you can find a pattern in your blood sugar management, a pattern of highs, a pattern of lows, a pattern of perfect blood sugars, I don't care what the pattern is, if you can find a pattern, you've got a whole world of opportunities because now you can start implementing structure and strategies and try to figure out how to make your best life. Without pattern, if there is absolute chaos, that's a big struggle, right? That's where things get difficult. If you have absolutely no patterns, if you're high and then low high, high low, and it's just completely all over the board, that's where you have to kind of hit the blood sugar reset button. And if you don't know how to reset blood sugars, of course, there's a formula for it, right? There's something we follow for the blood sugar reset, but that's a bit more intense. That requires a lot more paying attention, a lot more strategy involved. So if we can avoid the blood sugar reset and find a pattern to start with, that's going to be the ultimate key to getting these strategies, getting these solutions in place, right? So first thing first, we're looking for, is there a pattern of high blood sugars? Is there a pattern of lows? So you go high every night at the same time, right? Is there a pattern? And she's like, well, not really. It's been kind of crazy. I'm like, okay, what have you noticed? And she's thinking back over her last couple days, last week. She's like, what have I noticed? Okay, I saw blood sugars that were higher than I've seen in a very long time. Saw blood sugars that were lower than I've seen in a very long time. It's been less than ideal. That's what I've noticed. And so we're working through it, and I'm like, well, let's get some specifics. Like, how high were the highs? How high were the lows? Or sorry, how low were the lows? And she's thinking back to it, and she's like, well, I don't know, it was high and it was low. I'm like, what were the specifics though, right? What time did you go low? How low was that? What did you do to try to bring the low back up? Did you eat sugar? Did you go eat a handful of broccoli? Like, what was the strategy? What were the surrounding events that you used and the surrounding details around that event so we can start working a formula up for a strategy? right, to try to fix this problem so it doesn't happen again, because nobody wants to keep having those chaotic blood sugars. And she thought back and, well, she said, I don't know. I'm having a hard time remembering exactly what happened. And I said, well, have you been tracking your blood sugars? She said, well, not really. You know, it's been a while since I've done that. We've gotten blood sugars to a place where they're really smooth. They're going really great, you know, blood sugars being more predictable. And she's on MDI, right, multiple daily injections. And so she's seen that she found her sweet spot. She's got the carb counting down, the pre-bolus timing, you know, fine-tuning a few aspects of the diabetes management over time, of course. But she's like, things have been running pretty smoothly, so no, I haven't been tracking. And I thought, well, how can we know where to start if we don't know what the details and data were surrounding the events, right? If we don't know how high we went, or how much insulin we took, or how many carbs we ate, or any of these surrounding variables, then it's kind of a shot in the dark, right? And of course, we're laughing back and forth. She knows I'm messing with her at a few of these points, but what it boils down to is we didn't have a detailed report to go off of. And I'm not saying you have to have a detailed report for every minute of every day, because that's crazy. Nobody should ever have to do that. I've done that. It's not fun, and it does bring a lot of things to light, but it's not realistic long term. So she actually asked me for a solution for homework, and I think this is actually the first time that I've ever had a client request homework, right? And I give what I call action items, because most people don't like the term homework. She came to me, she said, well, Matt, what's my homework? How can I improve on this? And I said, all right, let's think about this. How can we make sure this doesn't happen again? Easiest step forward, find a pattern. How do we find a pattern? We track data. Because if you don't track data, like I said, it's all chaos, right? It's just chaotic mess of numbers and emotions surrounding it. The highs, the lows, the frustration. So no, we gotta find the patterns. Gotta determine if these are situational highs and lows. In other words, did you miscalculate your carbs? Did you not pre-bolus? Were you rushed to get out the door? Did you panic when you went low and you ate the whole kitchen, right? There's so many different things. Human responses and emotions can get in the way. Let's just be real. Human emotions are messy. I mean, just last week, I overtreated because I was like, I don't want to go low before I go drive, right? You can't be low while you're driving, so I'm just going to overtreat, and then through the roof, right? My blood sugars went crazy. Human emotions can get in the way. So I said, all right, we got to determine these patterns, find the data points, and see if it's situational or if there is an actual pattern. Because if it's situational, well, just don't do that again, right? But if it's a pattern, we need to take some steps to fix this. There we go. So how do we determine if it's situational or if there's a pattern? We must track data. And as unfun as that sounds, tracking data will always bring light to the areas in your life that you need to improve. Think about it like this. Somebody trying to lose weight. How will they know if they lost weight if they never track their weight? Think about that for a second. You start and end at a certain weight. But if you don't know your starting and ending points, you're just going to look at yourself in the mirror and go, well, I think I lost some weight, 5 pounds, 10? Who knows, right? You have no idea without that data. So tracking your progress, measuring your progress, not only gives you a starting and an ending point, which will help you identify if you have hit your goal or if you should keep going, but believe it or not, it also keeps you motivated. Because what gets measured gets managed. The more you keep an eye on those tracking numbers, or in business they'll call them KPIs, right? Key performance indicators. Different things in life require that you track them in order to see if you have progress. Now, in addition to wanting to make progress with our blood sugars, right? Improve time in range, lower our A1C, improve overall stability and predictability of blood sugars, we also want to avoid those frustrating highs and lows, which we can determine through the findings of patterns, right? So again, is it situational? If not, find the pattern. How do we find the pattern? We collect data. So I said, all right, look, next time you have one of these frustrating blood sugars, just any of them, pick a high, pick a low, I want you to stop and look backwards at what just happened. And I want you to document every single thing you can think about that could have possibly led into the current situation that you're in. High blood sugar? Okay. Did I calculate my carbs correctly? Write it down. Did I take the right amount of insulin? Write it down. Is my insulin to carb ratio correct in the first place? Write that down. Did I exercise? Did I forget to exercise? Did I drink water? Did I not sleep last night? Am I super stressed? Right? The list goes on, but look backwards once we get to a place where there's the chaos, right? And 250 and you're like, what just happened? Think backwards and look at that situation. Approach it mathematically and say, okay, what went wrong? What step along the way could I have done better? Can I improve? Is this a pattern? If so, how can I make changes and adjustments to my diabetes management leading up into that chaotic moment to avoid it in the future? So the homework I gave her was simple. I said, hey, when you have that chaotic moment, that chaotic event in your day where blood sugars seem to be going wacky, stop, hit the pause button, and start journaling. Write down, document where your blood sugars are. Where did they start? What led into that event? Documentation could potentially save your life. Think about it like that. If you don't like documenting, which most people don't, right? Journaling, blood sugar numbers, it all feels like homework. But if you approach it from a different perspective of A, this could save my life, or B, this could help me live my best life. If I document for a couple days, shoot, maybe even a couple weeks, I could identify patterns that I never knew were there. And that could radically change how I perceive my diabetes, but also how I manage my diabetes. And I'll tell you this, if you're in a place where you're like, look, Matt, I can't get into your program because I only have 5 minutes a week of spare time. I don't have time. Cool. Use those 5 minutes to document your blood sugars. And I guarantee patterns will start to emerge. You'll start to get these aha moments, these epiphanies of like, oh my gosh, that's why my blood sugars spike at 2 o'clock in the morning. I didn't realize I was eating 30 grams of carbohydrates at 11 o'clock at night while I was watching TV. Huh, imagine that, seeing a spike 3 hours later. You see what I'm saying? Documenting will bring to light these other things happening in life, our emotional things, our habits as humans that we may honestly be overlooking because they've become so habitual, so ritualized, that we forget we're doing them, right? We just don't think about it. Oh, why would that affect my blood sugars? It's just cheese and crackers. Oh wait, cheese and crackers, that affects blood sugars. Yes, it does. Believe it or not, that's actually a story from a previous client of mine that had become such a deep routine that he forgot that would impact blood sugars. And believe it or not, your boy, myself, has come across a similar situation. I used to snack before bed and wonder why the heck my blood sugars did what they did. So we're getting off track here. I'm gonna pull back. What can you do that is the simplest step towards better blood sugar management without needing a coach, without needing a trainer or a doctor or an endocrinologist? You can literally go today and take care of this to improve your overall diabetes management. What is that one thing? Document. That's it. That's all you gotta do. Document your blood sugars and identify trends and patterns in your diabetes management. If you can do that for 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, and tell me that there are 0 patterns, call me. I wanna hear. I wanna hear the person who has 0 patterns. It's completely opposites. Every single day is upside down. I doubt that is happening. I can almost guarantee that there are patterns in your diabetes management that are either good patterns that you need to praise yourself for and say, what am I doing right there? Or are bad patterns. And you need to look at them and go, okay, that's been happening every day this week. I need to do something about that, right? Now, of course, the documentation alone isn't going to get you to 100% time in range. The documentation alone is not going to get your A1C to a 5.3, right? You got to take action. You have to actually analyze the data, look through the patterns. Yes, patterns are super powerful once you document, but look through them, identify what changes need to be made, what could have led to those situations in your current timeline, right? High blood sugar, why'd that happen? And then take action. Well, what can I do to avoid this next time? Oops, I forgot to dose insulin for extra protein. Oh, that's a thing. Just in case you didn't know that, there's a little extra golden nugget for you. Yes, high protein meals oftentimes require insulin. It's crazy, I know. But once you document, gather this data, and analyze the patterns that you find, you open up this whole new realm of possibilities within your diabetes management. So, what are your takeaways for today? Simplify your diabetes management by using the one key strategy of documentation. Once you document your blood sugars surrounding those chaotic events, I want you to analyze them for patterns and then take action on what you can do next with that. All right? Can you do that for me? Seriously, I want you to take something from this podcast. Use it in your life. I am giving you the answer. It doesn't get any simpler than this. Grab a pen. Do I have one? Here we go. Pen and a notepad. Right there. Write down your blood sugars and figure out what the heck's going on. That alone will set you on a path towards success. Build your momentum towards progress, right? What gets measured gets managed. Now, if you have no idea what to analyze or what these patterns mean or how to reverse engineer your own formula for blood sugar control, that's where the coaches come into play. That's what I do in my programs. She got to come to me, that client, remember we called her Jill. She got to come to me on a coaching call and say, Matt, I'm noticing X, Y, Z, and the follow-up call, of course, was here's the data, here's what I noticed, and she had some incredible data, and believe it or not, in a matter of that one call to the next call, she had it fixed because we gave her the formula. We gave her the proper strategies to improve her blood sugar management. If that's what you're looking for, if you need help to analyze and implement the new strategies, the actual 80-20 blood sugar formula that we use, that's where the coach comes into play. That's where you need to go check out the free training. I made this training free for a reason. I don't want you to feel stuck, okay? I put my knowledge and my efforts into this training for you. This free training that's available to you at diabetesinaction.com. It's called Diabetes in Action because you have to actually take action to see these results, right? You want to live with your life in action, you're gonna have to take action. So, if you need help analyzing, figuring out where blood sugars are going to go, and you want to know more about the possibility of actually predicting where blood sugars are going to go so that you can keep them more stable, avoid the chaos of the blood sugar roller coaster, then go over to diabetesinaction.com, watch the free training, and that's actually the only place that you can apply to work with me. There's no other way to get in. So watch that training. If you like what you see, you can apply. And maybe we'll have a chat, see if it's a good fit for you. If not, I may point you in a different direction and say, this is actually a better path for you. I've done that a few times as well. So no matter what, you come off those calls with your next steps, with a sense of direction on where to go. So last time, go check out diabetesinaction.com. I will see you there, and keep up the fight.